Late Night Thoughts with Mr. Zabo. If we cannot trust the government, and we cannot trust the political parties, and we cannot trust corporations and media outlets, we cannot trust profiles on social media, what's left there worth trusting? Is the dictionary still considered fact? Question mark. Like, that's what woke me up in the middle of the night. That's what got me going. Got my brain rolling around in a million directions, and I had to get up, grab the trusty digital spy device, and hit record. I was going to ramble about this in the middle of the night to myself anyways, because that's the only way I can get the thoughts out and get back to sleep. Should have started doing this 3 decades ago. I'd already be an internet celebrity. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, friends. But I digress. Back to this question, this central question. What is there left to trust? 40% of internet traffic is fake, it turns out. Doing an episode on that in just a minute. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? That's just one little bit of evidence that our world is steeped in illusion, in virtualness. Where do we draw the line? Can you trust your own eyes and ears? According to President Trump, no, you can't. You can only trust his mouth. That sounds a bit ridiculous. Nothing against him personally for this particular slice of analysis. Let's pretend I love Donald Trump. I would stop here with that statement and go, but. I may like him, but now he's made a statement that I cannot wrap my brain around and cannot support. There's no way that I would allow myself to trust one politician's mouth over my own eyes and ears. Now, my eyes and ears may occasionally fail to perceive things accurately, but that's just as much to do with my mindset and my mind beliefs as it's got to do with anything out there in the external world. Can you imagine waking up to a day where the latest declaration from the depths of the internet in rebellion against the mainstream is that we should all burn our dictionaries and stop speaking the languages that we speak? Now, but then again, having said that out loud and letting it sink in just a wee bit, it almost sounds appealing. And there seems to be some weird synergy with my own thesis about what the Tower of Babel represents. But that's a whole other episode. We'll have to put a pin in that nexus of ideas for a hot moment and come back to it. What's my point? We can keep finding new things to doubt and to accuse of being fake. Or we can create a culture of genuineness. We can keep pointing fingers and calling everybody else liars. Or we can build a collective consensus about transparency and clarity in all social actions, in all political actions, in all collective actions that are necessary for the species to heal, grow, and thrive. Wouldn't that be better than pointing fingers and laying blame and accusing accusations and punishing punishments? This humble talk show host thinks so. I'll leave you with this closing thought. They have been dumbing down our language for centuries. It seems clear to me. That's why everybody today takes one look at Latin, throws their arms up in the air and goes, fuck that noise. That's harder to learn than Russian. Or whatever, insert your favorite, funniest other language here that's really hard to learn that might also belong to one of our quote-unquote enemies that we're secretly quote-unquote allies with now. Yay, politics. We don't need politics, folks. By the way, if I haven't laid this line down on you in any of the podcast episodes that you have checked out so far, we don't need politics. We need organization. We used to organize around civic activities like infrastructure and security, and, we created bodies of organized effort. Then somehow we got talked into trading that out for ideological conformity and tribalism, political warfare. But that, too, is a whole separate episode. Where do we draw the line, folks? You tell me, where do you draw the line? There's plenty in the world that is fake. There always has been. You can just dip your mind into the literature of any era, and you'll see shills and con artists abound. Nothing new. Nothing new to see there. But what's your personal tactic? Where do you draw the line? How do you define or test or verify the truthiness of something? To borrow from the great Colbert. How do you filter out the fake so that all that's left is truth? That may very well be one of the oldest debates/arguments in human history. But then again, perhaps there might be a really simple and organic answer to that question. I personally once tried to devise a sort of mental tool for discerning truth. It was a pyramid in its allegorical shape, and each side was a boundary. And if the content of a thought did not violate any of the three boundaries and could reside entirely within those three boundaries, those are the three simplest boundaries that together, when taken together, seemed to indicate boundaries that would do what I just said, filter out the fake and leave only the true left. The sad, tragic irony is, I don't remember if I made a recording of that when those original thoughts hit me, or when those thoughts originally hit me. And I don't know if I ever wrote the exact words down. So I have the image of a triangle, whoop-de-doo, nothing new, right? Sacred geometry and occult iconography throughout time. The pyramid or the triangle is central. And I knew that... It pains me that I can't just bust this all out. It was part of my overall meta-thesis, but it's a chapter I haven't zoomed in on very deeply in a really long time. But in this mental device, it was all, of course, intentionally designed around or built using sacred geometric principles. So I took the pyramid, or the triangle, because both two-dimensionally and three-dimensionally, that primary shape, it only has 3 points, it only has 3 lines. That primary shape, that core, organic, raw, natural, central to the universe shape, as obtuse and man-made as it may seem when looked upon in the edifice of tall buildings, pyramidic and triangular structures are actually really important at the microscopic level in nature, but that's a whole other episode. It's the first of the Platonic solids. The triangle or the pyramid is I forget which one's the triangle is the non-solid, right? Before you get to the Platonic solids, it's the Platonic geometries, or whatever you call it when they're just flat. But of all the Platonic shapes, the pyramid and the triangle have like primacy of stability. It's the first shape that's very self-stable, self-sustaining, as it were. And it contains within it, speaking in terms of sacred speaking in terms of sacred geometry, it contains a balanced yin-yang, or can quickly, when you merge two of them together, contain a balanced yin-yang of inward flow and outward flow, or growth and reduction. But I digress. In my construct, the words are all missing, but I remember that there was 3 planes, each constructed of 3 points, which where the words go. Like in my diagram of this tool for filtering out the fake, each point, each nexus point, of which there are only really 3, whether you're talking about a pyramid or a triangle, right? There's only 3 points in either shape. I know one of them was love, because I put that one at the apex, and the... Oh, that's right, I'm a liar. There isn't only 3. When it's 3-dimensional, there must be an additional point. Why did I say that? Edit that shit out, I sound like a moron. There's 3 points in the flat 2-dimensional triangle, and there's 4 points in the 3-dimensional pyramid. And the apex point I called love, and the other 3 I failed to recall. But I digress. We need something along those lines. That was my point of that weird sidebar, and I've now returned to my central flow, which is, we live in an era where those in power are proactively and very diversely exercising their power to influence us in the following way: muddying the waters and making it difficult for us to determine that which is fake, that which is real, in order to make the creation of and the perpetuation of irrational conflict even easier than it already is. Now, this is not new. Like I said, this is actually a centuries-old agenda. If you want evidence of this, just look back in time. It's more obvious in older eras because those eras were less sophisticated. Nowadays, the effort is extremely sophisticated. So sophisticated that you've got Democrats fighting Democrats, Republicans fighting Republicans, independents arguing with independents. Everybody's echo chambers are splintering up into smaller and smaller and harder line or more hardcore echo chambers. Blah. How do we reestablish trust in an era where some people are probably ready to start burning dictionaries? Let's revisit this in a few episodes and see what kind of answers we can't dredge up. As always, thanks for tuning in. This has been Late Night Thoughts with your always humble and perpetually insomniatic talk show opinion host, the incorrigible Mr. Zeppa. Stay tuned for new episodes and reboot, remix, reimagining, re-engineering of old episodes and recently rediscovered lost tapes. As always, my friends, I humbly thank you for tuning in. If you like what I talk about, please share, comment, ask questions, etc.